Hey guys, it's David. I'm up here in Hendersonville running an errand, and I wanted to share with you just a quick story. So, right now I am at the gravesite of Alfred and Evelyn Bennet. And for those of you who don't know, the Bennets were very instrumental in saving a lot of the history in Nolensville. They lived in William Nolan's daughter's home for many years, and they actually preserved and restored William Nolan's home. So definitely they have a lot to do with the history of that town and saving it. But what I want to share with you was Alfred was someone, he just kind of became a grandfather to me. And the story I want to share with you now is really a testimony to God's timing being perfect. And it's an irony that I'm wanting to remind myself on. So, and it's also, I also mentioned that today is October 7th. He passed away October 6th, 2018. So we're almost 4 years anniversary here. So it's kind of surreal that I'm here without even meaning to. But the story is, Alfred had these stories from his life he liked to share, and they turned it up into a collection. We filmed them and then we put them into a book. And I started working on putting this into book format. It took me a good while to do it, just off and on, just wanting to preserve these stories from Alfred's life, and just stories that really meant a lot to him. He wanted to share with people. So about 2 years goes by as I was just off and on transcribing this book, and I was doing this. I was living in Huntsville at the time, so just time was not on my side doing this, but the time came where Alfred's health had been declining, and he had a few close calls. And then there was this one call that one of his daughters called me, and saying, like, he had another episode, and I'm like, okay. And I went to go visit him, and it was very evident that this particular visit was going to be it. So I got to say, my goodbyes, and I told Alfred, I'm like, Alfred, I'm going to finish the book. He had seen what it looked like before, and he knew, he saw it, but he didn't see the final product. So I'd been working on 2 years for this project, and so the funeral was 2 weeks away, 2.5 weeks. And I'm working as furiously as I can to finish everything, which I had, basically gotten everything there. And finally, I get down to it, to where I get everything done, and I call the printing company. And I'm calling them to say, hey, are we ready to print this book? And I call them no less than 6 or 7 times, and I'm stressing out, because it's like, you've been working so hard for so long. For 2 years I've been trying to finish this book, and the only prayer in my mind was, God, please don't let me fail right as I'm getting the finish line. Because my goal was, if I couldn't give him the book, my goal was I wanted to hand the book out at the funeral. So my dad encouraged me, see if there's a local printing company. I did, and found a local printing company in Franklin. I told them my story, and they're like, great, we'd like to help you. It would cost this much. And I talked to Alfred's daughters, and they were willing to help pay the cost for it, for the printing of all of the books. And I said, like, how long is it gonna take? They said 2 weeks. I'm like, that's when the funeral is at. I'm like, why 2 weeks? So like, well, we have to do a few things, for the 2 weeks to go by. And of course I'm thinking, can we just skip the things and just get them printed now? They're like, no, it has to print for 2 weeks. And so before that day had come, a few nights before then, I remember just being in my room on my knees, basically on the verge of tears, just saying, God, I've worked so long and so hard, and I have prayed, please don't let me fail. Please don't let me fail. And I finally came to a point where I finally let it go. And I said, God, and I don't know why I said this when I prayed it, but I said, whatever you want for this ship. That was the analogy in my head. If this ship sails out of the storm, awesome. If the ship stays in the storm, so be it. If the ship goes down, whatever that meant, it was just like, if this doesn't happen, I'm like, this is now your project. I was giving this something I was working so hard. I'm like, this is your project now. and it's on you now if this gets done. And that was kind of the mentality I was working from. Was the stress was gone. I remember that, like, the pressure was still on, the work was still going on here, but the stress of I've got to get this done or else was gone. So I had already gotten to the point where I was just like, God, this is in your hands now. So the funeral is going to be Saturday. I get the call from the printing company Friday. I go to the printing company, and I'll see if I can find the picture somewhere. I go to the printing company and I open up those books. I see the box and I see the books in there. It was not 13 hours between opening the box and seeing those books for the first time and then handing them out at the funeral house just over there. And the thought that I've been thinking about a lot lately is God's timing isn't ideal, but it is perfect. And just wrestling with this idea that I want God to do things on my timetable and in my own way, how I think it ought to go. Because I think I have good ideas. And, just looking back, I'm like, God, this is, to me, 2 years. I moved to Huntsville, came back, and 2 years comes down to 13 hours. You cannot plan that. And as much as I want to control my life and I want to stress and feel like I have to have the perfect schedule, the perfect plan, I'm trying to walk more by like, God, what is your grace? What do you have for me today? What a gift I have to plan my days rather than stress about them. What a gift I have to wake up every morning and try to make the best of it, but still realizing that you orchestrate things for your purpose and your glory. And it just encourages me to think about going forward now in my life is, as I'm making choices, still remembering that, his timing isn't ideal, but it's perfect. And it was just so neat handing out those books and people receiving them. And I remember one of his granddaughters read the book during lunch. I remember I could see her flipping, I could see could tell on one page, and I was mingling, having dinner with everybody, and I glanced over her again, and I could tell she was on the last page, and realized she read the whole thing during the lunch afterwards. She came up to me afterwards. She's like, "You captured him so perfectly." So it's neat just coming back and seeing the memory that these two have put in my life. And you don't know who's going to be a part of your life and the impact they're going to have. And again, even them is, the timing was perfect. And that's something that's hard to let control go over, is I want control over my life, but then I'm realizing I live under the grace of a God who has all authority, and he orchestrates things in perfect timing. I don't understand his ways fully, but I'm beginning to trust him with the time. So thanks you guys for hearing me out and let me share. If you do want to check out the book, it is on Amazon. It's called Being a Whole Person, Stories of Alfred Bennet. And definitely check out some of those stories that Alfred has had. Those stories have impacted my life. And I've heard them so many times from Alfred that, they've kind of become a part of me in the way I think. So it has been neat just seeing, just the impact people leave on you. But thank you guys for letting me share, and I'll see you later. Be encouraged. Bye.